When you bring a problem to the table, if you don't have solutions, that's not a problem, that's a complaint.
Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver. And today, well, we're going to be talking about a question that I have now received multiple times. Not just a question, but a statement. So over the last, I would say 3 days, I've had the same exact statement or question said to me 4 times. And that is, Michael, out of all the quotes we've been doing, 80% come back ineligible, and the remaining 20% are eligible, but they're nowhere in the ballpark. What should we do? So that's what we're talking about today. What's up, Courtney? How you doing today?
I'm good. You know what? Today is going to be a little bit different because a lot of the times we have these really juicy conversations in our living room and we're breaking down what's happening in the industry. And then we get on here and I'm like, wait, what were we talking about? So I decided that this time we're just going to pretend like this is our living room and we're going to have the conversation that we continue to have over and over again with the problem that you started the podcast with.
Yeah. We're going to start having more conversations like we have in our living room.
Maybe we should call them living room sessions. Have a little jazz music in the back, like down, down, down.
No notes, no nothing. Let's just talk this through.
Because I have a lot of questions when it comes to this topic because I hear it over and over again. And it doesn't matter carrier. It doesn't matter captive or independent, producer or agent. It's universal.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I was actually just talking to an independent agent the other day, right before he got signed up for Weaver Sales Academy. But his closing ratio has went from 60% on average to 27% over the last 6 months. Because he's had almost a 40% decrease in closing.
Because he's selling based off of price?
There was a mixture of things, but that was definitely one of them. Yeah, he was selling off a price. He's lost a little bit of his passion. He hasn't been as disciplined with the process, but a lot of it has went back to selling off of price, like just straight getting in the money game, for sure.
And I think there was a time and a place for that, for selling based off of price when we were competitive. No,
you could get away with it, but I would disagree that in insurance, if you're selling off of price, you're going to have a really difficult career. And I think that's if you're selling anything off of price, you just pigeonhole yourself, because if you don't save people money, you move on to the next. Like I don't know, like when I was in it, my number one job, and I told every customer this, is not to save you money. It's to make sure you're adequately protected. Mm-hmm. I actually wanted to be more expensive every single conversation because that meant that we were giving them more coverage, more policies, more value. So could you get away with the price game? Yeah. I mean, insurance is a cyclical market. There's going to be markets where you're saving everybody money that you talk to. It doesn't matter what carrier you're with. Everybody's saving people money. So then you just have to hope that you come back as the lowest quote, which for a lot of providers out there, your State Farm, your Farmers, a lot of your captives, you're never going to typically be the cheapest. Like there's typically always going to be a company that is going to be able to beat you. And so the value you provide has to be more than just what you tell people about your customer service or about being local. And that's why I was always a fan, and still am today, of always quoting more coverage and more policies, using stories within the conversation to really, because as insurance agents, you sell intangible products. So how can you get so good at a sales conversation and educating the customer and painting a picture to where your intangible product almost becomes tangible because you're so good at having a conversation and putting the customer into a story that helps them imagine the worst case situation?
I find this fascinating too, because what you're talking about right there is security. And it's the reason that somebody buys insurance. And it is the reason usually that you go into insurance. So both sides of the insurance, as a customer and also as a sales professional, you got into insurance for financial security, residual income. Mm-hmm. And so right now, our world as the professional is being rocked, just like the customer's world is being rocked. And so what we're going to talk about today is kind of break down how to have more security in your profession. Like, what are the things that you should be focusing on, regardless of rates, regardless of eligibility?
Yeah. I mean, and I guess I probably need to answer your question. Sure, you can sell off of price, but I think selling off of price is a losing strategy.
I would agree.
Short term and long term. Can you get away with it in some cycles? Yes. Can you get away with it for the long term? No. You live by price, you die by price. And quite frankly, if you attract people by price, they're going to leave you for price. Yeah. So I think it's a lose-lose equation. I mean, the data supports what I say. I mean, 90% of people are willing to pay more for something if they find value in it. If it values them, insurance is no different. Insurance producers and agents just aren't having the conversation to add value to customers. And then 96% of people buy off of emotion. Yet, most people in our industry, they get somebody on the phone. They're like, hey, I got your quote back. It's $250 a month. What emotion is that striking besides hopefully you're saving them money?
Yeah.
All right. So, but I know that that's not what this podcast is about today. But I do want to reiterate that I think selling off of price is
trash, garbage.
Like, don't do it.
All right. So what should we do instead? Everyone listening is like, okay, what's the solution? What are we doing instead? So we're not getting our ass kicked on every phone call.
Well, so I think, and we can talk some tangibles here. A lot of it, though, is going to go back to the mindset and culture that you have within your agency. Focusing on the positive, focusing on what you can control, focusing on the things that are going well. Not consistently talking about the problems. Because if you're consistently talking about the problems, guess what you're going to attract? More problems. What you focus on is what happens in the agency. And so that's where I would want to start. I mean, obviously, tangible wise, if I'm in the situation right now, I'm doubling down on retention, relationships, and referrals. And they all correlate. They're all tied together. Look, if you want more referrals, which everybody does, you want more referrals. I want more referrals. Everybody that owns a business wants more referrals. Anybody that is in sales wants more referrals because referrals have a higher closing ratio and they're statistically the better business that will stick with you for longer. And so how do you get more referables where you have, well, first of all, you have to be referable. So you have to provide great customer service. 2, you have to have relationships with your customers to where they're actually comfortable enough to send referrals to you. All right. So referrals are directly tied to the relationship you have with the customer and the retention as well with those customers. Because if a customer is with you and they stay with you during times like this, the likelihood that they like you, trust you, are going to send people to you is increased dramatically. So I'm doubling down on my current book of business right now. And we can talk about some new business acquisition strategies for some of those agents that have just started. I actually think right now is a great time to double down on new business acquisition because unfortunately, I would tell you 70 to 80% of the conversations I'm having right now, and I am telling them, do not do this. This could potentially kill your business, is they are actually letting their foot off of the gas pedal. They're actually pulling back from new business acquisition. The problem with that is then you develop a culture that isn't hungry, that's not striving to grow the book of business. Now, yes, what we're talking about in this episode is what can I do right now? That's double down on retention, double down on your current customers, referrals, relationships. But that doesn't mean take your freaking foot off the gas pedal and quit trying to write new business.
And I like how you got into the tangible of really focusing on adding new business to your book. But I want to go back to the mindset because we jumped into the 3 R's. I want to hit that home because I feel like that might be the most important part of the equation before we get into like the tactical how to. What was that? What would that look like in your office? So you're an agent, you're getting kicked in the teeth every single day. Mm-hmm. How would you set your team up? How would you set yourself up from a mindset standpoint?
It's the same thing I used to do in the agency. I would be doing the same thing. I mean, the first 15 minutes of the day is about training and getting better. Sales training every single day. Like, there is a common denominator amongst every successful business owner and insurance agent in the country, and they train every day. Mm-hmm. They train for 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Some train for an hour. I think that that's honestly overkill. You can do a lot in 15 minutes. Your first conversation of the day should not be with a prospect or customer. Your first conversation, your first sales pitch of the day should be with a teammate. You don't step into the freaking batter's box and expect to hit a home run unless you've taken some practice swings outside the batter box. Practice, train. That's tip number one. That's the one way you're sharpening your saw and you're feeling good about what you do is you're gaining confidence every single day. The second thing is I'm having a 15-minute daily huddle at a minimum. So what a daily huddle is a team meeting. I'm getting the whole team together. And number one, the very first thing I'm talking about in that team meeting is attitude of gratitude. What's one thing you're grateful for today? What's one thing that's going great in your life today? That's how I'm opening the team meeting. That's how we open every Weaver Sales Academy training we do on Tuesdays. That's how I'm opening the team meeting. That's how we used to open the team meetings. Gratitude. Because if you're talking about the good things that's going on in your life, you're going to attract more good things. Period. So what's one gratitude exercise? Then I'm backing it up with, hey, what went well yesterday? Let's celebrate some successes from yesterday. Great. Now let's talk about what we're going to achieve today. What is the focus? What is the focal point of today? How are we going to win today? What is the one thing you are going to accomplish today? And then I'm going to be talking about hot leads. Who's prospects? Like, who we got in the hopper? What we working on? What we got for life insurance? What appointments are booked? What hot leads are you calling today? I'm always going to be focused on the positives. What can we control? What are we going to achieve? How are we going to win? That's how my first 30 minutes of the day set up.
I love that. I love that because it is, I know.
You what? You love it.
That's an inside joke.
Y'all, I just got to be honest with you right now. This girl gives me shit every time I'm like, I love that.
It's your filler word.
It may be my filler word, but it's also how I feel. I love that shit. All right. Tangent over. Let's get back to it.
I love that. Let's see. Relationships. So the first R that you brought up was relationships. And you're saying it's not just the relationship with the customer. It's the relationship that you have amongst your team.
Mm-hmm. That's, yeah. Yeah. When you actually think about it.
Yeah. What are we focusing on within our organization? Because that's going to spill out. And also what we're going to focus on with our customers is the positive of what is happening. Okay. So you brought up, I'm going to take you back to where I put a pin in it.
And look, I want to go ahead and say, as positive and optimistic as I am, I know that right now is an extremely tough time in the industry, in your business, in your office. I know that. I know that right now is tough, from the claims calls to the rate increase calls to the ineligible quotes to you coming back more expensive to the shit going on in your personal lives. I know that things are not easy right now, or as easy as they've been in the past. But that doesn't mean that you can't focus on the things that you want to accomplish, the things that you want to achieve, the things that are going well in your life. Because doors are closed right now, but there's also other doors that are open that you're not focused on, because us as human beings, and I'm as guilty as this as anybody else, is change sucks. All right. And sometimes doors close, and what you continue to focus on, the closed freaking door, when in all reality, if you just shift your vision to the right or left just a few degrees, all of a sudden you have a wide open door that you're not even focused on. Mm-hmm. And so I know things are tough, but you don't have to make them tougher by always focused on the negative, always focus on what's not going right, always complaining, always bitching. Like, that's not going to help anybody. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. All right.
Because that's easier. It's easier to talk about the bad thing. It's easier to focus on the things that aren't going well. It's easier. But it's just going to lead down a tougher road.
Well, and I have a belief, because I can very easily find myself complaining about things and complaining about a problem. This is a problem. It's a consistent problem. It's a thorn in my side. And you always say, what are we going to do about it? Because when you bring a problem to the table, if you don't have solutions, that's not a problem. That's a complaint. Mm-hmm. A true problem, you are seeking solutions. And that's what we're trying to provide right now is let's expand and let's look for solutions. So you brought up.
Let's talk about some solutions.
Let's do it.
The 3 R's.
So we covered relationships a little bit. We'll come back to that. But you were talking about new business acquisition and your current customers. You said that you would be putting your foot on the gas for new business and you would be diving into current customers.
Yeah. I mean, this is how you should be running your agency and business all the time. You should be heavily focused on new business and you should be heavily focused on your current customers. That's all that really matters as an insurance agent is a business owner. You are growing your business and you're taking care of your current customers. I'm not saying to do anything that I wouldn't have said even when times are good. It's just sometimes when times are good, you get lazy. We've lived in a transactional type of environment. I'm just not talking about transactional sales. I'm talking about even transactional customer service, where you get somebody in the door, you never build that relationship. You never have the appointment. I'm sorry, a phone appointment is not an appointment. Like you have to establish some type of relationship with this customer with a face and a name, either virtual technology or in person, because that is what's going to deepen the relationship. If you walk by your customer in a grocery store, and I know you can't know all of your customers, but you can know a lot of them. You can at least visualize and have it be like, man, this person, I might not be able to remember their name right now, but I know that they're a customer. Just by getting in front of your customers, again, either in person or virtually. I'm going to tell you in person, I love in person, but I also understand that some people, they just like the virtual technology. Some of your customers are 4, 5, 6 hours away. Everybody knows how to use virtual technology in today's times. There is absolutely no excuse to not be meeting with your customers. So when I say double down on relationships, that's what I'm meaning. I'm meaning you need to be working your current book of business. You need to be getting in front of your customers. You need to have an appointment strategy to where you are inviting them in the office. And if they say no, then you're automatically assuming the virtual appointment. And you are having a minimum of a 30-minute appointment. Now, why is this so important? This is going to be important from a relationship standpoint. This is going to be important from a retention standpoint. And this is going to help you sell more financial services products. Because I can guarantee there is gaps in your current customers' plans that they need solutions to, and you just so happen to have the solution. Regardless if it's life insurance, health insurance, Medicare, retirement planning. Like these are the types of conversations you need to be having because what hasn't changed? Life insurance. The 3 kingsmen of insurance are auto, fire, and life. What's the one thing that hasn't taken a rate increase? Life insurance. What's the one thing that every single person needs? Life insurance. What's the one thing that you haven't been talking to your customers about? Life insurance. Double down on relationships. Meet with your customers. Do the thing that the other 10 insurance agents down the road aren't willing to do. Instead of creating a transactional experience, let's create a transformational experience for your customer. I mean, when you think about, when I think about my grandparents, you could have asked them anything. Hey, who's your dentist? Oh, this is it. It's Johnny. He's a great old boy. Well, hey, who's your insurance agent? Oh, my insurance agent's Dean. I've been with Dean for 15 years, man. That guy is just good as gold. Would your customer say that about you? Really? let's be honest. If somebody asked your customer who their insurance agent is, what are they going to say about you? And that's where I'll leave it at that.
I don't know where to go from here.
And I'm getting fired up. But as an insurance professional, and maybe I'm just biased right now, but unless you are building your business to sell, okay, unless you have like a 3 to 5 year short-term plan of build, scale, sell, because this message may not be for you, but the 99% of the rest of you that are looking to build a business for the next 25, 35, 45 years, this message is for you. Unless you want to have a revolving door of customers and always be chasing, always running that 100-yard dash, you got into the business to change people's lives, right? But you don't want to meet with customers. You don't want to have appointments, but you want to change people's lives, right? You better have a deep soul search with yourself. And I get fired up about this, but it's true. I almost just cussed right there, but it's true.
It's all right. We welcome that on the Insurance Buzz. If you're tuning in right now and you have the ability to scream out profanity, please do. Holla if you hear us.
So, have appointments with your customers. That's my very first tip, because that's going to not only deepen the relationship, but that is going to increase the retention, which all the research I'm looking at right now is I just read an article the other day that these rate increases from insurance providers from a P&C standpoint, the P&C industry will not be profitable until the end of 2025, maybe beginning of 2026. And that's what they're saying. That's just speculation. Anything I know about speculation, it typically goes a little bit longer.
Yeah. So this is how to insulate your business.
You have to insulate your business.
What if
your customers already know you, like you, trust you. Even if you've never met with them, they pay you every single month. They pay you every single 6 months.
So I just had this thought of like, what if it was easy? And when you think about entrepreneurship, being a business owner, being a sales professional, is it easier to retain and ask for referrals from your current book of business, your current customer list, or is it easier to acquire new business?
Anyone will tell you it is easier to retain, more efficient, more profitable to retain than it is to go out and get new business. And here's the thing.
So why aren't we focusing on that more?
Because of the transactional sales model that's been created over the last 10 to 15 years. The day of the internet leads. The day of, hey, get them signed up and go on to the next.
I think we were talking about this. This is kind of going off on a tangent a little bit. We were talking about this over the weekend, how technology and relationships are not fighting each other.
Shit, no.
If you leverage them, you can create this ultimate customer experience where you're at the center of this and you're the go-to person. But you have to position yourself as such, because if you are churning and burning based off of price and not having a relationship or a connection with your customer, why are they going to stay with you? Why wouldn't they just use a computer?
Yeah.
Like, where's your competitive edge if you are not diving into that?
You can. Like right now, you can have so many checkpoints with customers that are automated that you don't even have to do anything besides just set up the automation. And the customer thinks it's you.
Yeah.
And all the customer actually cares about is that you give a shit, is that you care, that you actually set up something to check in with them.
And that's a feeling too. Do you genuinely give a shit? You can't fake that.
Yeah.
If you don't, you probably shouldn't be in this profession because it's too hard.
Well, you're going to have to find some people that do care. You're going to have to hire and have somebody run your business that does care.
Yeah.
All right. And I think most people care. That's not the thing here. in my opinion, in my conversations, I think that as agents and producers, you get so caught up in the next sell that you forget about the current relationship in the current sell, because the sell doesn't stop when you get credit card information. That's actually when the sell starts.
It's when you kick off.
That's when the real work begins. Okay. That's when you schedule the appointment. That's when you dive in and actually create a relationship that somebody is a raving fan. Because the one thing we haven't talked about yet, what do appointments do? I'm going to get to some other retention strategies too here. All right. With automation, checkpoints, things like that. I think that'd be good. But by meeting with your customers, you automatically become more referable. You want more referrals? Meet with your customers, because you're going to build a relationship with them. You're going to discover commonalities that you have with them. You may have kids in the same school. Your grandparents may have somehow known each. Like, it's a big world, but it's a small world. All right.
And I think too, even for me, if I were to look for something in our area, let's say I'm looking for a plumber, I'm going to go to the internet. And are your customers going to be the kind of people, have you provided a service that when somebody asks, who's the insurance agent close to my area, who do you use, that they put your name in the hat?
That's right. It goes back to the question that I already put. If somebody asked your customer who their insurance agent was, what would they say? Would they even know your name? Would they start being like, oh yeah, it's Courtney. She is amazing. I just met with her last year. I learned so much valuable information. Or is it, I don't know. It's State Farm, Farmers, Allstate. It's one of them. I get mail from all of them. I don't know. It's one of them. I pay somebody every single month. I bet if I had to guess, it's that. So let's get into some tangibles. All right. Automations. So I think one great automation that I would have set up right now is a text campaign that on birthdays automatically text and said, hey, just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I hope you have a great day. Now, if you want to go the old school route that we did in agency, we called everybody. And it was one of my favorite things to do. It was one of my team's favorite things to do. Literally.
I loved it. It was
so good. So many conversations. People would be like, Michael, I look forward to this call every single year because you are the only person that calls me on my birthday.
Which is kind of sad when you think about it.
It is kind of sad, but that goes a long ways. Those were also the customers that I knew that no matter what happened, they were with me for life.
Yeah.
They were never leaving. So you can do it old school way. You can do it in an automated way. I would have thank you cards. All right. And I actually think that I would go the old school route on this, to where one easy process you can have is have your team every single day. They randomly pick one customer that they have a great transaction with, a great conversation with. Right then they write that thank you card and they get it out in the mail. That's like, there's something about handwritten thank you cards. Like anytime I get a handwritten thank you card, I'm like, man, this is great. Mm-hmm. This is awesome. Now, if you wanted to go the more automated route, there's lots of companies out there that you can actually have like do your signature or whatever, and you can have an automated thank you card process go out.
Yeah.
So I would do that. Speaking of thank you cards, another really great process I'd recommend is any new business that you write, you send them the thank you card on the 5-month mark right before they get that 6-month renewal. You send them a thank you card on the 11th month mark, and then you send it every 6 months after that. So you're having a thank you card system every 5 to 6 months with your customers before the renewal hits. Okay. So it's really easy process to stay in touch with your customers. Easy checkpoints showing you appreciate them.
I'd automate appointments. I would automate the entire appointment confirmation setup process.
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%.
A follow-up, setting the appointment, and then following up with the appointment.
Yep.
Thank you so much. It was so great to see you today. Looking forward to
all of that needs to be automated for sure.
Being able to take care of you in the future.
An even automated process of reaching out to customers to schedule the appointment. Mm-hmm. You can do that. You can hire companies. You can do it in-house. There's lots of ways to do that. I'm trying to think of some. The bar, like getting in front of your customers every year in person, not only from the appointment standpoint, but also fun. Like what we did, this has nothing to do with automation, but we had a barbecue every year for our customers. Every year we had a barbecue, and we got so much great feedback from it. And it just so happens that every time we got together, we would typically write a handful of policies too, because people are like, hey, I've been meaning to call you about this. I've been meaning to do this.
I think the biggest thing, and you can come up with, there's a ton of different ways that you can serve and connect with your customer. I think the biggest thing is it a point of focus for you?
Is it important?
Yeah. Is it important?
Well, it should be. In a residual-based business, you can actually increase your pay by 10% just by taking care of your current customers, is what data shows. So in a residual-based business, customer service is extremely important. I mean, if you're in a business where you're just selling to sell and you can't offer any other products and you don't want returning customers, then that's one thing. But in a residual-based business, that's why I go back to when you close the business, that's actually when the real work starts. Because insurance is not a short-term game. Like it's not a like get rich quick type of scheme. It is a get rich, get wealthy over time type of business. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make good money from the very beginning. But how you really make great money is by writing and taking care of customers to where they're customers for life.
Yep.
Okay, so we just talked about some retention strategies. I think that that's really great. Again, the appointment's really good. I think it goes back to that upfront conversation too. Look, I can't skip that. I can't be who I am and not talk about that real fast. Like if you're not having an educational, empowering, storytelling conversation up front where you're giving customers more coverage and more policies to where you are different from that initial transaction than anybody else they're having conversations with, you're also going to struggle in this business in the sales role. You're really going to struggle. And if you need help understanding how to have that type of conversation, please reach out, 816-727-7610. I would love to have a conversation with you about that. It's not as difficult as it seems. And it automatically differentiates you. So I hope today, I know I talked about a lot. I feel like I may have went off on some rants. But I hope that you do have enough tangibles here today and that voice inside of your head. If you've thought about doing these things, this is your like, aha, like, yeah, I need to be doing this. Double down on your current customers, double down on retention. Don't take your foot off of the gas. All right. For new business. All right. Keep your foot on the gas pedal. But these two things I talked about today are the two things that if you continue to do starting now and for the rest of your career, you will be wildly successful as an insurance agency owner and wildly successful as a producer as well. Okay. So you got anything else for me?
No, I think that was great. Relationships, referrals, and retention.
The 3 R's, baby. All right. So as always, we appreciate you. If you have any questions, any comments, shoot us a text. If you like today's podcast, give us a 5-star review. If you are a longtime listener and you've never given us a 5-star review, give us a 5-star review. It would mean the absolute world. But as always, time is the most valuable and important asset that we have. We appreciate you spending time with us today. Go out and make it great.